The last topic I want to talk is about soccer or football if you're in Europe and the World Cup and if America ruined the World Cup. Because I'm originally from Spain and I grew up playing soccer and watching soccer. And I watched the whole World Cup because I was following Spain and we won. And I had some thoughts about like soccer and like watching sports. Is it even worth it? Like how it's turning into like a how Americans see it more as a business and Europeans see it more as a sport. So let's just start with like my general thoughts on the tournament. So as you know, like normally there's no cooling breaks, right? In Europe, soccer, what's cool about it is it's 90 minutes and there's no ads. There's only a break for 15 minutes, so it's 45 uh, 15-minute break and then 45. And between during those two 45 parts, there's zero ads. Only there's banners that you can see on TV. But of course, that's very different to American sports where they're like doing ads let's say every like 2 minutes, like in baseball or um, in basketball. They even like minimize the sports while they're like doing a play that does not that important to put like an ad on the side, which I think that's crazy. But of course, I mean, if you're like just rational and you maximize things and you don't really you cannot take out the human element out of things like the feeling out of things, you end up in situations like that with like sports in America where it's all hyper narrowed into just making money rather than like the experience of watching it or like people doing sports and like doing sports as a form of community and like for health reasons, stuff like that. So, and like one good thing about that is that in terms of technology, in terms of like show business, they're a lot more advanced than European sports. Like I thought it's very cool to see that in baseball now they interview players mid game. I think that's something they would never do in Spain. In soccer, it would be too hard to do, I believe. But because in soccer, like there's no really like dead moments. In baseball, there's like a lot of dead moments if you're like playing other field and you just no one's hitting that long. But I thought it was very cool. Like for example, in soccer, I would like to have a channel where you could hear the players talk, or and the like you could not the players talk, but you could hear the ambient sound of the stadium, and you can hear the fans cheer, and you could hear the ball because the ball actually during COVID this is what you could hear. Like during COVID when there was no fans, the I really enjoyed watching soccer because you could hear the players talk a little bit. You could hear like them like giving instructions to each other, like working as a team. You hear the ball, how hard it was, and to me, and I don't really want to hear the commentators that most of the time don't really know much about soccer. So like they could do that. Like they could have two channels, one with a commentator and one with like fans and ambient noise. But that requires technology, and maybe there's not an audience for that. But like Americans, they have stuff like that. Like in the NBA or the NFL, sometimes they give a mic to a player to record the whole game. So I thought that was very cool. And then they posted on YouTube. I used to watch those videos. Then the other thing is like now Americans before didn't really like soccer, right? But now with the World Cup, they're starting to understand it. But they're watching soccer and living soccer in the era of social media, like the era of TikTok. So their perspective of soccer is through like the feed and like soccer edits and like they think that soccer is like about individual players. Like they're like obsessed with like Haaland or Messi or Jude Bellingham or Lamine. But soccer is like a team sport. It's like a lot more important. With one good player, you don't really do that much. The most important thing is how you pass the ball between each other, how you pressure together, how when you need to defend, you're like communicate and you are close to each other, or when you need to do like a help, like let's say there's a winger that is being defended by your teammate, but you need to be aware of them in case the winger is able to out like dribble the defender, and you need to help them and try to go there. So it's a team sport. It doesn't really matter the star players. Like look at Real Madrid, all the star players they had this season and they won 0 trophies. And look at Spain, which didn't have any goal scorer in the top like 5 of the tournament. They were all like Messi, Kane, Haaland. Spain had like none of them, and they won, right? Because it's about the team, it's about the chemistry. So, so Americans don't really realize that, and they're obsessed with individual players. So that kind of annoys me a little bit. And I have experienced that with other sports also. Like Spain, we really focus on like fundamentals and technique, and like teamwork. But in the U.S., they don't really care about technique. It seems like, or they don't really care about fundamentals. They care a lot more of like they're a lot more superficial. Like they care about like the flashy plays and like looking cool and like scoring themselves, and like about storytelling, like about like the motivational speech before. But it's not really about the motivational speech. It's about like training every day so you perform in the match. If you like don't do anything all week, and then no matter what motivational speech you give, you're not gonna win, right? So I feel Americans fall into that trap, and you can see that their team is not that good. And their team is not that good for various reasons, but one of them is that American culture doesn't really go along with, in my opinion, with team sports. It seems like to me. And then also in Spain, for example, we play soccer in school. Like during lunch break, everyone plays soccer. And there's other like public stadiums, and you can meet up with your friends from the neighborhood to go play soccer. But in the US, there's not that many stadiums because soccer is like a new sport to them. Like in the US, like soccer is like a sport for women because the US women's team have won a couple of World Cups, I believe, so women are into it. And there's like this negative view that soccer is like real men don't play soccer, or like soccer players flop a lot and it's not that physical, which I completely disagree. Like they need to run like 10 kilometers every game, and they like actually you get hurt a lot playing soccer. Yes, that's true that some players flop, but it happens. Like NBA players also flop, and doesn't mean the game isn't physical, right? And and the thing is, in America, the the players that like people that play soccer in clubs and in high school, like when they're underage, it's expensive, right? And there's not that many public stadium, like public fields, and yeah, and they're like really obsessed with winning instead of like trying to focus on improving and developing the players. And yeah, ultimately they don't. I don't know. I feel like they don't understand the essence of soccer. It's hard to put into words into why, but I think I gave a couple arguments on why I think. But yeah, I always it feels weird seeing them play, and the fans. It's like they're in a different frequency. Like they don't really understand soccer, or at least the point of view or the philosophy of soccer from uh, someone who grew up in Spain.